community call. My name is Rachel Richards, and I'm so excited to be with you tonight. I have some friends on with me, Dr. Lynn Johnson and Patrick Becker. We are really going to unpack environment, terrain, mindset, identity. There's so much that I'm sure all of you are wanting to create in 2026. And we hope that this call and the next two calls that actually are themed for you to do exactly that, to go into the new year, not wait for the new year. We're going to create in the now, but we're going to get you so solid for this new year that's coming to really embody the changes that you have wanted to make most. And with that, I'd like to just introduce myself and then my guest, and we're going to really start unpacking this beautiful topic. So I have been in the Optavia community for about 8 years now. And my husband and I both have a coaching practice here with Optavia and a regenerative health practice. So we practice regenerative health and we use Optavia to basically serve people. We love the full offering of Optavia. We have been offering it in our practice for about 8 years. And it truly has changed lives. If I were to think about how many lives in our 8 years, I would say probably over 4,000 people have been impacted directly or indirectly by our decision to join this community. And that makes me feel like I'm doing something good with my changes and making a new world for my children and my grandchildren and my family that you saw in the pictures. So I'm very passionate about helping people to create this. Patrick joins us. He has also been in this community, the three of us. I was figuring out that we are all about at the 10-year mark. We're kind of coming up on a decade of being in this community. And we say that just because we've seen a lot and we've tasted a lot and we've created a lot and we've heard a lot from clients. And tonight we really want to bring you the best of what we have in our collective experience. So we are going to have a very podcast call, very discussion oriented call. There's not a lot of slides. We want you to join us with your full heart and your full mind tonight and really make this personal for you as you think about the new year. So Patrick had a military career. He also has had a beautiful transformation of his own, but really what he has landed on, all of us have, is a full identity change. He has become not a person on a program, but a healthy person. And we look forward to hearing from you, Patrick, on how you created this shift and how it's become permanently a part of you. And there's really no going back once you become a healthy person, right? And
No,
yes,
go
tell
ahead.
us a little bit about that, Patrick. We'd
Yeah,
love.
absolutely. As you mentioned, coming up on my 10-year health anniversary, that will be in February, and I'm really excited. And again, the thing you said, you nailed it. It's all about the identity, and it's all about the environment. And I'm sure, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the empowerment, and some of the responsibility, that we take in shaping that. But yeah, once you have that flip, that switch kind of goes from off to on, and you realize that, hey, I make healthy choices. I'm not on or off program, or I'm not doing a thing or whatever. It just is what it is. And I get to shape, kind of like Play-Doh. I get to shape it into whatever I want. And if I don't pay any attention and let it fall down, it's going to be a blob. But if I make it a beautiful thing and I'm conscious about that every single day, and again, it gets to the point, Dr. Ray talks about habit creation all the time, and he talks about making healthy habits second nature. And when you do that, you have that identity change that you were talking about, and it does make a world of difference. And there's nothing better as a coach than to see that start to that light go on with your clients. You're like, oh, they get it, and they're they're going to be successful, and it's going to stick because they made that identity change. So definitely a huge part of what we do.
I love that. So really what all of us are subject to, it's just a Western culture thing, is a diet culture. And what's interesting is we were talking about before the call, just chatting amongst each other, is that we live in an obesogenic world, but a world that spends the most money on diets, right? And fads and gimmicks and supplements. And obviously all of us have been subject to that at one point or another, no judgment. But really, what we're talking about is that programming is the three of us have decided to deinstall that and to say, that doesn't serve us. We don't want to be people on a program, right? We want to be people that are evolving and really embodying health and vitality. And Dr. A has given us a place to do that. So, Dr. Lynn, how about you? I know you've been in the community a long time, you've coached lots of clients. And coming from a chiropractic background that your husband still has today, and you're doing more full-time coaching, what really drew you to that? It had to be something pretty powerful for you to help people in a new way.
Oh, major, because being in practice for almost 40 years, watching people over time get unhealthier and unhealthier, and more people battling and struggling with weight. And in the office, we really didn't have any solid, as a chiropractor, you can't spend an hour advising somebody on their, health and lifestyle stuff. But then when Optavia came to us because of some failings of our own, I will always laugh when I hear people, clients, frequently they say, well, I know what to do. Yeah, that was us 12 years ago. And we were both overweight. And my husband had just tipped over to the obese category in the BMI chart. And he was like mortified because he's a very, he's muscular, he's strong, but we both had kind of gotten off balance with regards to portion control. You said something about, oh my gosh, I was always eating organic and lean, grass-fed, everything. And it's like, well, yeah, the portions were obviously out of control. And our lifestyle, a lot of healthcare providers don't take very good care of themselves. Their environment, we're talking about environment here, especially nurses and all, there is just all kinds of junky food that patients bring in to grace their nurses for what they're doing for them. But healthcare providers in general don't have very good health parameters. And in the office, we saw so many people struggling and suffering. And when we got the results, our health coach was actually a cardiologist who was using this program with his patients. And so we did it because we saw him lose 40 pounds. And then we were so blown away by how we felt. And we both had metabolic issues that resolved. And so we were like, oh my gosh, this is so great. All our clients, our patients need to know this. And so over time, it just became very natural for me to transition into this because I'm 70 years old now. I'm tired of pushing around 200-pound dudes. So it's just been so beautiful. And, Patrick was using the analogy it was so adorable. And my analogy is always flowers. When you see somebody get the big picture of actually being a healthy person and realizing what their environment, your people around you,
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about the terrain, when you think about the environment, think about a fish tank, right? If we want to if the fish tank is murky and the water's murky and there's lots of algae and all of that, you've got to deal with the environment. You can't just give the fish supplements or give them things. You've got to really address the environment and say that's that terrain theory, right? That we subscribe to at Optavia that you're describing, which is Dr. A cares about the entire person and their entire day. He's looking at those 24 hours in a day that we steward, and we're really looking at making micro changes in that. So that is beautiful. I want to kind of set us up tonight with a little bit of framing, and I want to get the chat going now too, which is as you think about becoming a healthy person, I wanted you all to identify somebody that you admire that's healthy and just put it in the chat. This person is, your goals person or somebody that you think like, wow, I really think this person is incredibly healthy. That's so sweet. So I'm gonna put Rachel Richards. Rachel Richards had quite a journey. She tacked like a sailboat. I always put that in there for Dr. A. And she made it to the other side of an identity change, but it was a really bumpy journey. It was because, you know what, to your point, Dr. Lynn, like you said, it was the 6 inches between my ears that had to change the most because you know what? Food is just information. Food is just information. It just tells our cells what to do. But we have to tell ourselves who we are first. And that's really tonight. Okay. So I love people putting names in the chat. Now I want you to hold on to that because that name is going to become your name over time. You're going to become the healthiest person that you know. And it starts with that belief system and embodying that identity of, I am going to become that person that I admire. And I want to do what that person would do at lunch. I want to have the amount of steps that that person would have in a day. I want to protect the sleep schedule that a healthy person would have, right? So I want you guys to think about the identity that you want most, because what I love about Optivia is we give you an opportunity to have your values and your behaviors be like this. And when I was the most frustrated with myself, it was because my values, I would tell you, I want to live forever for my kids. I want to be a strong grandmother. All the things I wanted to be the most were right here. But some of my habits and rituals and environments were over here. If you looked at my bedroom, you might question me. If you looked at my pantry, you might question me and say, well, why are these things still in there? Because right? So these are some of those things. So I want to talk to both of you about how do you see in an environment, what are some of the biggest environment changes that you've made, Patrick? And then I want to hear from you, Lynn. Like, describe some of these environment changes, that fish tank. How does it look now? How did it look before you became a healthy person versus I'm a person on a program that's either going to pass or fail this diet, right? How did you get away from that and start creating environmental changes?
Well, for me, I think the biggest thing that I learned is it wasn't about the murky water. It was about keeping the water from getting murky in the first place. And for me, what I used to always do was I would say, well, I'm in the kitchen and I can't have that, or I can't have this, or I can't have that. But then I asked myself, why is that even here? And I realized, and one of the things I learned in the life book early on was you buy your willpower at the grocery store. You don't buy it, that moment in the kitchen, you're going to lose. Those chocolate chip cookies are going to win just because they're right there at eye level in your refrigerator where it's saying, hey, come eat me, come eat me. But if those never make it into the refrigerator, if they stay at the grocery store, I don't have to fight that battle. And for me, that was the biggest thing, was controlling the environment in terms of what I let in. And I learned after I got the food piece worked out, I learned that, gosh, guess what? It's also the people I hang out with. It's also, the entertainment that I take in. It's what I'm doing. I realized, watching a lot of TV, you don't think offhand, well, that impacts my health. But it's not sitting there watching the TV. It's what I could be doing instead of watching that TV. I could be out walking around. I could be doing something more productive. And when I realized that you only have, like you said, Dr. A talks about that 24 hours in a day, right? None of us can put more hours in there. The hours are there. It's a matter of what we do with them. And when you control your environment, what comes into your environment, what you choose to reach out to and participate with and do, that time becomes so much more valuable. And as you said earlier, you really think about, I don't want this to get in my fish tank because I don't want the water to get murky. So I keep that out, and all of a sudden you notice, wow, it gets so much easier because the water isn't as murky as it was last month, last year, whatever it comes down to. Now it's much cleaner water, and guess what? You kind of get used, as you saying, the identity happens, and you get used to living in cleaner water. And guess what you say? Well, wow, it's better now than it used to be. What if I kept going and did this one other thing, or stopped doing this one other thing? And all of a sudden, the water keeps getting cleaner and cleaner, and you like the water because now you can swim in it faster, and it tastes better, and it's just amazing. That environment just kind of brightens up. Using Dr. Lynn's analogy with the flowers, the flower blooms much easier when the air and the water is clean. So it's really about controlling. To me, it was about controlling what comes into that environment. And again, those choices are not made at the refrigerator or in the pantry. They're made at the grocery store. They're made at what I choose to drive by. Do I drive by the McDonald's, or do I not? Do I avoid that and not even tempt myself, because I know I'm just human, and I know that the emotions are going to win. So.
I love that so much. You said so much there that is so helpful that, when we think about this time of year, even, I know Dr. Lynn, it's like this time of year, we could think about, well, it's the holidays, right? And what we really know as Optivians, when we think about a growth mindset, holidays happen for us, right? They're not something that is meant to knock us off our horse. And when you think about the context of 31 days in a month, or 31 days. And we eat, as Optivians, we control our blood sugar. We don't let ourselves, to your point, Patrick, we don't let ourselves get starving. because that's part of the dirty fish tank. You let yourself get hungry, hungry, hangry. So you
Yeah.
just grab something, right? So we keep our blood sugar balanced. We stay in homeostasis. We keep a nice, calm rest and digest mindset through breath work and wind calls. And we're really looking at not getting in that hurt box. But if we do make a choice that is, the choice architecture is going towards the old self, right? Not the new person we want to create. Even if that happened 4 to 5 times in a month, 4 or 5 meals, right? I would love the chat to put in 30 days times six in, or 31 days times six. And what you're going to come up with is about 186 times of eating, right? And it could be anywhere. Not everyone eats 6 times a day. You might be on a different part of our program where you're doing something different. But in our community, we try to control that blood sugar. So when you think of eating that many times, and if you had a couple meals, one handful of meals in an entire month, you would still, that's about 2.5% of your month. So I know, Dr. Lynn, you're very passionate about helping people see that the holidays are not a reason, to go against ourselves, to create a different outcome. Because really, that score on your report card, even if you go off 2.5% of a month and you're still practicing health and habits, you're still getting a 97.5%. Right. So I know if I get a 97.5% on a test, I'm pretty happy. Dr. Lynn, talk to us about all the people that you've coached and how you help them to see that there's no waiting, that life is in session now and we don't have to wait to be perfect on a holiday because that's a person on a diet.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that. And by the way, you're a grandmother? I can't believe it.
Yeah, 6 grandkids. Yes. And I
Oh my
am
God.
healthy for them. So yes.
Blessings on you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
see, that's the thing to think about. Being in the healthcare field, I see people and I can sometimes get a little intense because, this is the whole metabolic health thing. You go from metabolic dysfunction, which 9 out of 10 of us Americans are at, to possibly metabolic syndrome, and from metabolic syndrome into the 9 out of 10 chronic disease killers in America. So this is really sort of a life and death thing. And I mean, it's not life or death if you go off program for one meal or 6 meals out of 180. So what? Just get back on your program and keep making those baby steps forward. And, you know, probably that was really what led my husband and I into being unhealthy, was that we fell into the environment of our family who loved to go on cruises and they love to drink, 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 and they love to eat, 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 eat. You go to the buffets and all that stuff. Well, we shifted to a different way of living whereby when we go on a cruise, I always said I could write a book about how to go on a cruise and not gain weight, because you can absolutely moderate. You're going to exercise more because you got all the time to do it, and so you don't have to fall prey to that, like you said, the all or nothing thinking. You don't have to fall prey to your accomplices, your partners in crime. You don't have to go along with what they do, even if they're your family and they're going to give you a little bit of a hard time for not being and doing what they're doing.
Yeah, you're
Some,
not allowed to change the script in families sometimes, but we sure do here at Optivia.
it's exactly where, and your family becomes your coaches, your coach friends.
That's
So
right.
most of my best friends are coaches now, and they lift me up to a higher standard, which is just 1 year environmental things that is huge, huge, huge. And I mean, I will suggest to anyone, if you have the desire to assist other people and you want to be amongst a bunch of really amazing human beings, look into coaching
Oh my
because
gosh,
it's
yes.
awesome.
Coaching is an incredible upgrade that we can give ourselves, but let's talk about environmental upgrades for a minute. I want
Hey
the
Rachel, real quick before you
yeah.
do that, I want to hear from you, and I'm jumping off something Lynn said about you being a
Yeah.
grandma.
Oh,
Tell us about, and this is something that gets overlooked a lot. So I really love to hear your perspective. Is tell us what your identity changed, how that's changed the way your grandkids operate. Because as Lynn said, it's the family that kind of sometimes will pressure you. But you asked that question, all those people wrote in the chat, all the people that they thought were healthy. How do your grandkids see you, and how does what you're doing affect them?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it started with water. We talk about the simple changes at Optavia that we've made and those macro changes, right? Like hydration. And I made it a point to drink so much water in front of my family. When our kids turn one, our grandkids, we buy them a personalized hydro flask. When they turn one, that's their first birthday present. We are not saying drink water. You guys need to drink water. We don't say what they need to do. We just model it. I will say Mimi has been sitting too long. I need to go run outside with you. Let me get my tennis shoes on. Let's have a race. So I'm showing, not telling them what is important. And it's so good that you said that, because I wrote down here, where will your children and grandchildren learn? What university will they learn at? Will they learn at the University of Diet and quick fixes and extremes? Or will they get to see a slow and steady progress of someone becoming a healthy person? And they will say to me all the time, Mimi, can we get this? Or Mimi, do you want a bite of that, if they're having a special treat? I do believe in true moderation. I don't believe in, food shaming or anything like that. I think it's important to have that. So we don't make an overly big deal about those things. But I let them know Mimi can have that. She just doesn't want it because I need to eat my green vegetables. Mimi has had not a rainbow a day. Mimi's rainbow a day has not happened. She's only had green. She needs some red. So teaching your kids to think about eating in color is really important. So those are just a fun couple of ways my husband and I are modeling health for our kids and our grandkids. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's kind of involve the chat. I want to get into, I'm talking to you, listener, right now, and then we'll come back to the group here. But I want to know what micro changes would match the identity that you have in mind. So let's talk about some of those things. So, how is your bedroom? So, put a 1 in the chat if you're like, oh my gosh, my bedroom is not an oasis for sleep. It's cluttered. It's got a lot of stuff hanging on elliptical machines. It's hanging clothes. My pantry is half healthy, half not so healthy, right? So my car doesn't have fuelings in it. I don't have extra water bottles. Maybe some of my friendships are kind of pulling me down because they want to go do things that I've stepped away from, and I need to develop some new friends. To Dr. Lynn's point, we bring that to you with win calls. We have the beautiful win call community of people that are like-minded. And then as you help your friends get healthy, your accountability goes up, and it's really hard to go back. For most of us that chose to coach and pay it forward, we did so to really put cement in our boots and make sure that there was no going back, because we now have, to your point, Dr. Lynn, healthy friendships. So I want you listeners to identify an area that is not broken, but it's not embodying who you want to be the most. And it could be noise. Remember that 80 to 85% of your choices are subconscious. Okay. So what I didn't know, and what I know you know, Patrick and Dr. Lynn, is that we have to interrupt this programming with when the day calls, with listening to this podcast every week, with talking to our coach. How do you interrupt the programming that is coming at you nonstop, right? With extremes, this style of eating, that style of eating, you name it, right? So I want our listeners to really put your finger on what part of the program. I see, thank you, Penny. My pantry is unorganized. Thank you for being transparent. We challenge you as fellow getting, healthy identity folks to take some time this week and organize your pantry. What would a healthy person's pantry look like? And take that on. And next week, when you join and you get to hear about the incredible level up your metabolic health, you can put in the chat, I changed my pantry. And that feels really, really good. So we involve our listeners. We want you to be a part of this. I love my pantry's full of fuelings. So great. I just want to read a couple of these things. Put a 1 in the chat if it's your bedroom. that you're like, no, no, it's not dark. It's not, I have blue lights. I stare at my phone, right? This is like someone tapping you like this right before bed. So it's really hard to get that REM sleep to lose body fat. So one, if it's sleep, I love that. Two, if it's friendships, who needs to really develop some healthier friendships? Three, if it's, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm the girl who's buying the Oreos at the store and then I'm trying not to eat them. So, you get the picture. So I love that. Some friendships and clutter, Mary, beautiful. Dr. Lynn, do you remember when you decided to really look at, hey, I am a healthy person? Because you described being a chiropractor, you were already, your identity was, I want to be healthy. But what do you think now being a coach led you to not have that exact result of the body, the metabolic body that you wanted, the metabolic health that you wanted? What were some of those disruptors? Were they in your environment or what was really causing the disconnect?
Well, I have to say, my thought process was age. Because I thought, oh, I'm just getting older. I'm going to be shaped like my mother. And, I'm tall, I have long, slender arms and legs, and I had a big belly and a big butt. Just put it, but I mean, that was my shape. I was like pear-shaped, and I thought, well, this is it. This is it. And I really went on program because my husband was like so unhappy with his situation. And I didn't even think of metabolically. I knew, I have background in nutrition. I knew that if I started eating better and I started being more disciplined with, every part of my life, that my metabolic markers would change. But I didn't realize it would happen in about 4 weeks. It happened so fast. My cholesterol went down, my blood sugar stabilized. I felt better than I had in years. And I was 58 when I started the program. And and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, it's like a matter of weeks I can fit in my wedding dress again.
Wow,
And
that
it
is
was
so.
like, it was mind blowing to me. So much change could happen so quickly. And I'd been in the diet thing. I had done different diets because I just need to get rid of this last 15, 20 pounds. And didn't happen until I started, really managing in this beautiful clinically proven way to take care of my body in a better way.
I love that so much. And then Patrick, quickly, just because we are already up against the hour, what would you say in terms of really making that change? What part of Optavia really came in strong for you? Was it the community? Was it because we know it's not just the food, right? We are not a
Mm.
food-based program. Food is only 25% of what we do. We are 75% services, right? And support. So what part of you, Patrick, was like, man, that did it. That was the missing
It
piece.
it was real simple, and I can narrow it down to exactly what it was. The words I use. I was totally diet focused, totally weight focused. I got to my goal weight. I kept it off for 6 months, and then I became a coach. And when I started working with my coach, then I started working with my clients, and I started hearing them say diet, scale, weight. And all of a sudden, I realized it's not about that. It's about the mindset, as you said, the identity, and of creating the environment, getting rid of the murky words that are in our fish tank, and really helping yourself be intentional about understanding that I'm a healthy person. I'm not on a program. I don't follow a strict program. It's structured that gives me flexibility. I realize that with just changing a couple words here and there, it forces your mind to operate totally differently. As Lynn said at the beginning, that 6 inches between your head, between your ears, all of a sudden gets rewired, and that's really where you start to appreciate the community, the coach, the fuelings, and the education, all that stuff all together. So it's definitely for me, it's the way I think that word and the words I use that make all the difference now.
I love that. We learn a different language here. It's a
Mhm.
very empowered language, and it really is about the values that we behold, the why that's in our heart, and using a complete system and program to change the subconscious brain that is driving the bus, right? And if we could just take our time and realize that it was our stress, it was all those things that Dr. A is saying, you know what? The number one killer is emotional mismanagement. And so while we want to change our emotion, our environment, I want to ask the viewers before we jump off to please join us next week. That'll be the 22nd of December, and we have incredible hosts, Jared and Amber. They are going to take this further, right? We want to take you further every week. We want to help you to create something new, not avoid something old. And I challenge you before you come into that call to think about the area of your life that just doesn't reflect the identity that you want. Is it your nighttime routine? Is it your morning routine, right? The first half of your day is lumpy and kind of all over the place. Or is it the second half? And talk to your coach and join a win call and start talking about the things that hold you back, because you'll be very surprised at the fact that so many people in this community have ways to help you and they understand. Okay, so the other thing is, don't just remember next week's call. It's really the next two, guys, because there is a incredible metabolic health challenge that is coming in clutch right at the end of the year that you'll get to join, but you won't want to miss these next two calls. So same bat channel for us next week. Thank you so much, Patrick and Dr. Lynn. You have been incredibly helpful in illustrating how important it is to become that healthy person and change our environment from head to toe. And then the weight loss and the health is just a natural consequence, right?
And it's going to
So,
be the
yeah.
Metabolic Health or Metabolic Reset Project. Not a challenge, not a challenge. Metabolic Reset Project.
Thank you so much. We love projects that are all about metabolic health. So thank you so much, everyone. And Chris, for your support in the background. We love you. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.